Gentlemen, it's 2 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get this work session started. We have one amendment to the agenda. It's going to be item number 10. Ms. Harvey has got the tax digest. She wants to review that with us. And since this is a work session, it's kind of informal, we're going to go ahead and do that. So number 10 will be the information on the tax digest. We will turn that over to Ms. Harvey when that time comes. That brings us down to, we're going to get cranked up here on item number 1, the LMIG road paving schedule for 2018. Mr. Nicholson, I think you were handling some of that, and I know the road department's out paving, and so I know they're going to get it. How's it looking for the paving schedule? And I think you all got information on that, on the 2018 proposed paving schedule. Y'all have any changes or anything you would like to do to that? How long have they got to make changes to this schedule?
I'll submit it in October.
Okay. So that gives you the ability to do that. I'm not going to read through all these roads that we would like to do next year, but it is pretty lengthy. And the ones in red that you see on the front page are the ones that have to be done.
They have to be done. They're in the worst shape.
They're in worse shape. That's no problem. And I will go over them real quick. There's not that many. We've got Lumber Company Road, Upper Grandview, Grandview Circle, Lower Grandview, Lakeshore Drive, Old Grandview, east of Salvation Army Camp, Windy Ridge, Hickory Cove, Hyde Road, Mockingbird Lane, which those roads will come up to approximately a total of $455,292. We've also got the distance and the mileage, or the distance and the tonnage on those particular roads there. And then the rest of them, which is many behind that, it's figured the same way. That gives us a little bit of time to review all of them, that they have spent time to get that put together. Any further comment on that?
The only one that I talked about, I talked to Johnny some about it, is the Ray Mountain Road. Changing it off and backing up Hill City Road by maybe 1 year or something behind that.
Yeah.
Now, Ray Mountain Road, that's on the south end of the county, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So you want to swap it with what now?
Hill City.
Hill City, back it off to maybe the next year.
Back off Ray Mountain with Hill City, or back off Hill City with Ray Mountain?
Black off Hill City and substitute Ray Mountain and Bessie.
You think we're going to have enough money when that time comes, or we can just go ahead and do both of them? Or what's your feeling on that? Or you won't make that commitment at this
Just
time?
want to make that commitment.
Okay. Well,
We need to check with the council too, if they've got enough spots.
Well, there's spots to do, to finish
that section.
the other end, because they got part of Ray Mountain Road.
Oh, okay, all right. So which one of you three volunteers are going to work with Nelson City Council to make that happen?
That's a great intern project.
Rodney and I'll.
You've had it.
Or do I need to get the water department involved on that? Okay, all right, no. But yeah, that would be great if Nelson wanted to partner with us where we go ahead and do Ray Mountain Road, if we can swap it around. That would help everybody on that end of the county.
And I want everybody to know, we got the paving done yesterday on
King Trail.
King Trail and Thompson Lane, and I've never seen as good a job as done as they did on that.
And that's the county road department.
Yeah, county road department.
Because now we got a lot going on in behind Walmart, that's Northwest Georgia Paving, that county's
Yes.
lost dollars to thank for that also. Thank you, Jerry. They will get that message. Anything else on the paving that we need to be aware of?
Not at this time.
Okay. Y'all get any more questions on the paving? I've got 1 and 2 pretty well covered on the discussion topics. Brings us down to item number 3, the capital lease for vehicles under the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff, you want to speak to that? I don't know if they know what you know about the different vehicles that you're looking at and the issues that we're having with some of them, but if you want.
We're actually looking at hopefully purchasing 10 new vehicles for Uniform Patrol. We have met with our finance lady here, which run some numbers for us, and the money I think is available in the SPLOST. So what we're asking to do is do a lease purchase that will be paid back through the SPLOST funds.
which vehicles? I know you mentioned some of that.
We're looking at both the models with the Ford. You know, right last group that we purchased was the Ford Explorers. They have been doing a good job. Really like the way that they're set up a little higher than the Taurus. They're all-wheel drive, so we can get in and out of different areas of the county when we have an inclement weather. It's not an issue for us. The problem is they're what they call a unibody, so if they are any damage to the vehicle, what we're seeing is extensive damage and having to be completely replaced, basically totaling the vehicle if there's any slight damage, where some of the other vehicles would have that same type of damage, and you know, we were able to repair it.
Is the Taurus got a frame or is it unibody also?
It's, I think it's a unibody also. I spoke with the sheriff up in Fannin County yesterday. They purchased a lot of those Tauruses, seem to like them, except they're having problems with the steering sector, and the Tauruses are having to be replaced. You know, we had purchased when we had the heat program. We had two of the Dodges. I think there's been some issues with the Dodges from some of the agencies that I've talked to, so we're not really looking at those. We're also looking at the Chevrolet products as far as the Tahoes, and then we've looked at some trucks, possibly purchasing a couple of trucks for the supervisors that are on
We were looking at at one time, we actually bought a couple of Chevrolet service trucks, which worked out very well, but have they started, has General Motors, especially local General Motors dealerships here, are they working with any kind of state or federal programs like Ford and Dodge does?
No, there's, I'm gonna say Brandon Motor down south that is doing the state contract. You know, we have talked with our local dealership about purchasing, you know, a quantity of vehicles. We're in the bid process now, looking at the different types of vehicles and, you know, where we can actually get those. I know that Dave Chevrolet said that they could not compete with the state contract, and that we would need to get, we were buying multiple units, you know, from the dealer that had the state contract.
And Dave does not want to go with the state contract.
Said they could not compete with that.
All right. Being that as it may, I guess when we do go, when you do go to whichever vehicle you're going to go with, there's all the interior stuff, light bars, all this have to be brand new. We can't transfer from one to another anymore.
That's correct.
All right. Jerry, you or Ms. Becky got any other?
Because the vehicles that we would be pulling out of the fleet would be some of the old Crown Vics that are pushing well over 200,000 miles.
We gonna, if you buy, say for instance, you buy 10, are you gonna pull 10 out of the fleet or what?
We won't be pulling 10, we're going to pull quite a few, but, you know, we're down several vehicles right now. So what we would do is replace what Uniform Patrol has, and then those high mileage vehicles, and even some of them, I'm sure, with 200,000+, would be passed down to some of the court services and, you know, some of the other divisions.
Stay close to home, not get
Just trying to keep the, you know, the better vehicles and then surplus out the others.
Okay.
So that equipment in the, you know, those vehicles would not even, would not work in any of the new vehicles.
All right. Don't get any further questions on the vehicles? All right, with that, we're bringing down to item number 4 under the,
Okay.
oh, I'm sorry.
So,
Yes,
does this item need to be on the agenda for the 17th?
it does.
I talked to BB&T and they have extended that rate of 2.22 until the 18th.
Yes.
So we need to get the paperwork.
Put that item on the agenda. If we can take care of it on the 17th, then we get the ball rolling on get that coming. Because I'm assuming you'll have to order vehicles, whichever one you decide on, that's going to take some time to get those.
Well, we've got to order the vehicles and the equipment, so hopefully when the vehicles come in, the equipment is ready to be installed.
Okay. All right.
We're just waiting on the go from the board.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? All right. That brings us down to item number 4 under the Georgia Mountain Regional Commission contract. Somebody's going to refresh my memory on that. Hold on a second.
That's your aerial photography.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Roy, you want to explain that, please?
Be glad to.
This is on the second down there, Georgia this one right here.
what you're dealing with is a proposal that we're working with several other entities on, other counties, other cities throughout Georgia, through the Georgia Mountain Regional Commission over in Gainesville, Georgia. What we would be receiving as part of this project would be new 6-inch pixel resolution, 4-band color infrared digital ortho photography. Pretty pictures that are new and updated of Pickens County, Georgia, in a very good resolution. The cost of getting that product produced is going to be $17,875.53. We will have that as part of our budget when we submit that later on for this year. The other part included in that agreement is also the acquisition of LiDAR. And our commitment through a letter of intent to the commission is for a grand total of $5,000 for LiDAR that will be flown basically in the same time period. It is a different product, and it goes to develop your digital elevation model for Pickens County. And this is something that all federal, state agencies, private corporations are really, really relying on for all types of government services, for all kinds of private companies. Everybody is using all of this new technology to better do anything that they've got to do as far as planning, flood water, new construction, anything in the world, traveling in your car, talking to a digital device.
Is it capable of elevations?
That is exactly what the LiDAR does. The contours might be as small as 2 feet, but the great thing about it is it's going to show you what Pickens County is as of January 2018. God, I can't believe it's 2018. We've changed the topography of Pickens County through the years, where people have graded for houses, and then there was this big project that they called 515. You know, a lot of dirt was moved from where the good Lord put it earlier to where it is today. We continue to have a lot of changes, so the need for good information like this is invaluable. This cost is peanuts to be part of this project because there are some grants available along with this that the Georgia Mountains Commission is taking care of. Don't want to get people too excited, but depending on how many people participate, we might not even have to pay the $5,000. That's the most we'll have to pay.
When this is done, is this something that needs to be updated every 5 years, or does it automatically every year it updates itself, or once you take a snapshot of the county, is that what it is at that particular time in history, and it doesn't change till you have to have another snapshot of the county?
Okay. I don't foresee that you will do LiDAR on a short-term basis. I really think you'd have to see significant changes to update that. I think once you get it established for what it is today, you could probably do it project by project. There's ways to analyze things like that. But I don't foresee on the LiDAR, Robert, that it's going to be something you would do as often as you do your aerial photography.
This does not, does this or does this not include the city of Jasper?
It includes everything. When we do things in our GIS base, we do it for every square inch of Pickens County, Georgia.
Any further comments or questions on that?
Sir? I
Yes.
spoke to the National Flood Insurance through EPD, and they have notified us, or they have told us, that if we do get this LiDAR, that it drastically increases our odds of getting our flood maps redone at a much quicker pace than what we're on schedule to do currently.
Okay. Pardon? Yeah. probably more accurate, probably to that point.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. Any further comments or questions? All right, that brings us down to number 5 on the Mabry contract. I know y'all are, we have been since October of last year and previous, doing our best to find out if we could ever find a piece of property on the southwest corner of the county that is an ISO rating of 10. It has taken many trips. 2 of the individuals are sitting back, 3 of the individuals sitting back there that have wore a set of tires out trying to find a piece of property, trying to talk to the individuals that own the property. I myself has went out and talked to individuals. I didn't think it was that hard to build a fire station. It's not that hard to build a fire station. It's hard to find some property. Nobody wants it in the front door, I guess, to that point. But all that needs to be said, but it's pretty well, hopefully it's water under the bridge starting as of today. We are meeting with an individual, with a family that has got 2 acres that are willing to sell. The appraisal has been done. The appraisal meets standards. So we have got a contract, and I was told earlier this morning that y'all are going down to meet with the family and sign the
We'll
contract.
meet with her family at 2 o'clock
Okay.
today to sign the contract.
Now, once this contract is just a standard sale contract, once we get this contract signed, then we would like to get this on the agenda for the next meeting and go ahead and finalize it. But Phil, you got any questions on that?
Let y'all vote on the next meeting, and we'll, if the family's all right with it, we'll just close it the next way.
We'd like to get that done also.
We can.
Yeah. So that'll help, because I can start, as Faye has told me many times, she's got the money for a fire station there, as well as 2 more fire stations in the county that we're trying to get accomplished. So we can get this fire station built and go ahead and proceed, trying to get this, our paid fire station as well as volunteer fire stations consolidated together throughout the county eventually over a period of time. Any questions to that?
Congratulations.
It's, elephants give birth faster than that, but it is what it is. But I am thankful for the family to be willing to do that, and granted, it'll be very appreciative, I think, in that area of the county to get a fire station, whether it's in there. So that was item number 5. Any further comments or questions on that one? All right, that brings us down to item number 6. I know I've been hearing around town that we were having some issues with animals, whatever. We have had, in the last 2 weeks, we've had 3 not scheduled inspections. All of them have come out. 100%, you've got a copy of the 3 inspection sheets there, in case you get questioned on it. No negative comments on that from the state inspectors. So that is that. That's item number 6. And those are the dates right there from July 12th through August 1st that we've had inspection reports.
Can we have these published in the local newspaper?
We could have it, we could put it on, we can ask Ms. Mary if she would mind putting it on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the unnecessary forms of communication that people seem to be using to address their, we can see what we can do to that point. So as we go forward, but I have no problem posting it on the county's website to that goes. Any further comments on that one? All right, that brings us down to number 7, the City of Calhoun Water Distribution Agreement. We were able to finalize that, and it is now signed. You've got a copy of that in your packet. That was, as y'all give me the authority to go ahead and sign that earlier. They have lowered their minimum from 500 to 400,000 gallons a day, which will be greatly beneficial to Pickens County. And also the rate is $1.77, wasn't it?
$1.70.
$1.70. So the rate that you see there, which is Pickens County agrees to pay $1.72 per 1,000 gallons. So that's what it's, that's on for contract. That contract is now done, and it's good for
4 years.
4 years. Or be renegotiated in 4 years. So it's going well. We're also working with a contract with Gilmer County. As you know, it's in the preliminary stages. The water line that our water department is putting in is going up Yukon Road, Jones Mountain Road, 136, whatever you want to call it. It's where the old county dump used to be. You are now up there around the dump sites.
Yeah.
And so we're working on it as water meters, and rightly so, we have getting an influx of people wanting water meters put in, but that is very refreshing, because things are really starting to pick up here in Pickens County. But in their spare time, they are building that 8-inch main all the way to the Gilmer County line. So Gilmer County is wanting to come down from their side and tie on to us at the Pickens-Gilmer County line on Yukon Road. And that seems to be coming together. So we are working on a contract with them as we speak, and hopefully we'll be able to bring some details to that at the next county meeting on that one, and you can put that on the agenda too, as Lisa's, for the water distribution agreement, that point. Any further questions on water situations? Philip, can you or Larry want to give us a quick update on how you're doing with the water and the meters and all that? Just
I think we said 14 this month, or last month. 50 for the year.
I think it's
Close,
close
50 for the year.
47, 50 meters for the year, which is,
So, and like you said, we're right there at the dump, and we're in rock, so it's gonna be slow go. We're hoping to get done in the next month or two, but like you said, the meters is taking precedent.
are you having any major breakages or water issues, or
No,
what's your water loss percentage running now?
about 10%.
About 10%. All right.
Is that 10% comparable with other counties? Is that pretty normal?
Actually, it's lower than other counties. The most of the 10% you're seeing is fire and rescue practicing, fighting fires, that type of things. Your leakage, you're not having many. I haven't seen anything come across my desk that's leakage, so it's got to be.
It's flushing, and the fire departments, you know, they're doing their trainings on Tuesdays, and they do flushing, and, you know, we flush, and, you know, we do have leaks, and we keep logs. So it's, you know, it's flushing and whatnot.
When it creeps over 10%, we start getting a little yanky, trying to figure out what's going on. But with the replacing of the line down in Jerusalem, that over 3,000 feet of line that y'all replaced because it was old, and
Yeah, that helped.
that helped quite a bit there. And then with what y'all have done, what the county has done the last 10 to 12 years, replacing meters, upgrading pump stations, those type of things, it's really helped on our water loss percentages. So that's going well on that point. Any other comments to that, Philip, you or Larry?
Is there anything that we can do over on Big Ridge? We got some areas over there that's having trouble with too much pressure.
Too much pressure?
Yeah.
The only thing we can tell them is they need to get, you know, pressure reducers.
Well, they had them on this, but it tore it up.
We can't reduce the pressure, because if we reduce it in one place, it's gonna,
Right.
you know, it's gonna kill it somewhere else.
Yeah.
We've got places where they've got them, you know, they've got 2 or 3. You know, one at the meter, one halfway, and one at the house. So, I mean, that's about the only option they can do. Because like I said, we can't, you know, lower it.
You put a pressure reducer on a house, the lifespan of the pressure reducer is somewhere between 5 and 10 years. And
This had a bunch of sand.
well, that's why we try to keep everything flushed out, because when you're hooking up other meters, you wind up could get a little trash in that thing. But your pressure reducers are pretty well 5 to 10 year, and the homeowner has to start replacing them out, or you take the risk of either that shutting completely down your water coming into your house, or it overrides and goes to full pressure. Some areas, what we're seeing is some of the pressure reducers do have screens in them that does catch trash and get stopped up. So most of your pressure reducers, though, you've got the ability to take and clean that out every once in a while if you like. But
Well, you
it's up to them.
can it's not recommended, but you can hook a water hose and backwash it, but you don't need to do that. And say when the fire department goes in and they start flushing and testing, it stirs everything up, and, you know, that's where you get your seal and stuff from. And we get calls, and, you know, we can't do nothing much about it because they have to go test the hydrants, you know, and so.
And that brings up another question, how many fire hydrants does the county have down? You know, any
I think we got that we got down.
that we got down?
I think I've got 3 on my desk that we've got down. And Sloan, when they come across them and they're down, he lets me know right quick.
Okay,
And we try to get them up. So I think I've got 3 that I'm waiting for parts.
okay.
So,
3, throughout the whole county system, we got 3.
yep, that I know of. You know, it's hard to, you know, unless somebody calls and lets us know that they're down, you know, that they're inoperable, then, you know,
Okay.
so.
We've also, as you all heard yesterday, we tested the tornado sirens. Everything tested out except for one up at Marble Hill,
Marble City.
Marble City. And we've got a mechanic coming out and getting that one up and going. Any further questions or comments? All right, that brings us down to item number 9 on the airport hangars. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Don Bacchus. He's the chairman of the Development Authority, as well as chairman of the Airport Authority. I believe you're chairman of the Airport Authority now.
Maybe. Y'all probably remember this project has been on kind of the want to do list for, and working on for over a year now, but going through, changing from a 7 to 5-person airport authority and then reappointing engineers, and kind of got pushed back. But we're at the point now where we're ready to move forward with it. And what we're talking about is 2 sets of hangars on the north side of those existing T hangars. If you remember when the grading was done for the horseshoe, the area there was actually leveled in anticipation of this. So while there will be some site work, it's minimal site work. The first page I gave you actually was created by Phil Everly of the Lead Edge in talking about 20 units, and it just goes through as far as his projections, and of course with what he sees and experiences. And I think we're pretty good as far as looking at the fuel cells and additional ad valorem as far as the revenue that it generates. One thing that's very important, should have said this from the go, these are actually all committed for. We probably jumped the gun a little bit last year and actually sent out letters asking for commitments with deposits, so we do have those. They're aged. I get a call from a couple of them fairly regular asking when we're going to have them. So not only do we have them accounted for, but we've also got a waiting list behind those. So we feel like there's certainly the need for it. The second page I took, and this is my handiwork, and I just estimated that what the payoff would be based on the cash flow that Phil Everly had projected on the other page. And as y'all know, we get annually a $150,000 grant from FAA that comes through GDOT. Right now, that grant, the vast majority of it's being applied to the purchase of that horseshoe property. And I think there's still about $330,000 of it, so right over 2 years left before that's satisfied. So one of the things I looked at from a financing and a repayment was a 10-year financing with 2 years of that being interest only. I think there's adequate cash flow based on these projections to service principal and interest just from the cash flow that it generates. But what we have said as an airport authority is we want to amortize this as quickly as possible. So not only will we be paying principal and interest out of cash flow, but we would also apply that 150. Now, in reality, as we saw this year, you know, there's always little stuff that comes along that comes out of that 150. We had to replace the rotator beacon this year, and that ate a little bit of that 150, not much. $9,000.
About $9,000 in the windsock.
In the windsock.
But that was just, that wasn't much.
Yeah, so there's stuff like that that would come out of that 150, but you'll see here that based on the projections, we look at right at a 7-year payback on this thing. You know, it like we said, it'll generate the activity, it generates the ad valorem with the planes being there at year end. And that's something we've also worked into our leases is, you know, folks like to play that game of having their plane somewhere else at year end, but we actually incorporated that into the lease.
My main goal, and has been ever since we've inherited that thing back in 2005 and the issues that it had back then, and we're not going to relive history on that part. But my main goal has been to make this thing financial neutral, which means I don't want it to be a direct pull from tax dollars from the county. We need to run like a business and make it happen. Will this help get to that process?
It's not only will this ultimately contribute to that, but it's at that position right now.
Yes.
I mean, you know, we look at those financials every month, and yes, it's paying for itself. And a big part of that are those T hangars that are now belong
To the county.
to the county.
Or the airport.
And are essentially are free and clear because they were financed up front or paid for up front by the leases. So yes, it stands on its own right now. You know, now with that said, there's no extra dollars. You know, when we did the beacon and everything, it was county has to fund it up front till the grant reimbursement comes. So I would anticipate that continues. This would be financed like most projects going through the authorities. It would have to be a development authority borrowings, and of course, before you, asking you if you would approve the $1 million pledge to support that.
But correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't the development authority have the ability to do $1 million pledge to begin with?
They do, but the lender's gonna want your back.
Oh, okay, okay. All right.
Do you feel confident, Don, that all of the pre-leases will come through?
It would amaze me if they did. I mean, they're a year old now. You know, we asked this question, and as you probably have seen, we've got a little activity going on in the horseshoe now, and we've got somebody that's going to be building some 50 by 50 box hangers. Both Development Authority and Airport Authority has asked that question: is the demand still there to support both of these, and as well as some others that we're in discussion with in the horseshoe. Randy, our airport manager, said absolutely. He didn't hesitate in saying that there's no doubt we can rent these all day long. There is just a shortage in the market for hangar space right now.
And you've got, it looks like standard size and then jumbo size.
And we'll, when we actually pull the trigger, we'll decide whether I have a version 2, and I didn't want to complicate it, that I just used all standard in keeping it at the lower rent level. The amortization is essentially the equivalent, just because the cost would go down a little bit if we went all standard.
Quick question, Roy. In your purview, say for instance, that we come together to make this happen, planes that are based in Pickens County Airport, do the taxpayers or the voters of Pickens County, taxpayers especially, get any revenue stream for an airplane that's based in Pickens County?
A little.
And what's the definition of a little?
I think we did a study, we pulled all of our aircraft for the authority, and the contribution is pretty small on an annual basis. Right now, the biggest aircraft contributor is actually an off-site helicopter at the light flight station. That one helicopter produces more than everything that's housed at the airport.
Right. But you've got some residuals, such as if we bring them, or not only will we be able to get some I think ad valorem, I don't know if that's the correct term anymore underneath the TABT, but with some revenue coming in for based aircraft as well as the fuel and the maintenance that would be going on there at the airport on these aircraft, I think, I just don't want it to be it needs to be an asset to the community, not a detriment. And I think we're there finally.
And I think the only other thing on that topic, I think it depends on who the occupants are. If it's individually owned, yeah, it'll go on. But the legislature changed some laws a couple of years ago that if you're a dealer and you're holding them in inventory, then they might not contribute anything.
Right.
So it just depends on what actually ends up being over there.
Okay.
And the other thing is those numbers are based, those airplanes are older than normal, and that's why they're not generally.
Oh, that's true.
Advertised.
Yes.
And it may be that, once we do have covered space, I've talked to a few people that probably would house some pretty high-end aircraft here, just if they have the ability to like it, recommend that sort of thing. So no promise of it, but it's a.
Roy could bring a G5 from Cherokee up here and park it at Pickens. That'd be handy.
Now, while we're talking ad valorem taxation on aircraft, one of the things that we've got going for us is the tax rate in Pickens County is much lower than the counties to the south of us. And many people are on these waiting lists because they don't like the higher rates in the lower counties, and they would love to be able to house them up here. But the question comes, is it the older, less expensive aircraft, or is it more modern jets individually owned?
Well, it brings in revenue. It brings in residual revenue, which, you park the aircraft here for a few days, you go and eat at the barbecue place, whatever, buy stuff downtown. Any further questions? Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Done a good job on that. Lisa, I need for you to, if you don't mind, go ahead and put that on the agenda at the next county meeting, if you're all in approval of that one.
Okay.
Let's get that on there. Any other comments to that point? Ms. Faye, you got any comments to the airport? Well, item number 10 is under the last one is about the discussion on the tax digest for Pickens County, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Faye.
Okay, thank you. The paperwork that I gave you, the top sheet is basically the digest, the current digest and the 5-year history that we have to advertise in the newspaper. If you look, the real and personal property increased 36.9, almost $37 million. The motor vehicles, the next line, decreased 9.9, almost $10 million, and that's due to the TABT.
How much, and while you're on that one, under the last 3 years, can you give me a rough estimate of how much money we've lost under the TABT for the last 3 years?
Well, in value.
Thanks, Don.
In 2013, in value, we had 90 million, and now it's down to 35 million, so that's 55 million in value.
Yeah.
Over 5 years. The next line, mobile homes decreased slightly, 21,000. Timber decreased almost 800,000, and that's due to the value of timber now, right? It has low value. And heavy duty equipment increased 10,000. So the gross digest increased 26.1 million. The exemptions increased also 4,231,000, and the majority of that, I think you said, is in conservation use.
Correct.
And due to the rural land reevaluation, right?
Yes.
So the net M&O digest increased 22 million, even with the motor vehicle decrease 10 million. When I ran the computation of the rollback, which shows us that even with the new values, with the increase in the digest, what the millage rate can be and not be considered a tax increase, that comes to 7.883. Our millage rate last year was 7.95. So 7.883 is the millage rate that you all can authorize this year without a tax increase. And at that 7.883 rate, on the property tax, that will generate, I estimate 92% is paid by the end of December. So that will generate around 9.7 million, and we have 9.5 budgeted. So it will cover the budgeted amount, or it should cover the budgeted amount. The second sheet is actually what the advertisement will look like. It will include that column with the increases and decreases. And if you all approve me advertising that in the paper next week, then y'all can approve the millage rate on August 17th.
You don't need to vote, just, I guess, to hold it.
I don't have a problem with that. Well, we'll just get it on the agenda then for the next county meeting.
Thank you.
Any further comments to that? We have, just to know, we have Miss Rachel Wigington, our 4-H director here, sitting back there in the back being very quiet. I want to recognize her for being here and thank you. We were able to acquire a bus, an old Matt's bus. Well, it's not old, but it'd be the Matt's bus for the courthouse. And Rachel's been needing some form of transportation. We have worked it out to the fact that her insurance now, and the insurance she has will cover the use of her using that bus. It is a 9-passenger bus. You don't have to be specially licensed. But, of course, the courthouse has got to come first. But when it's not being used and she has a necessity for it, I'd like to go ahead and give her the ability to go ahead and use that bus to that point. Now, whoever's going to drive it, I would appreciate it if you could borrow the keys and just drive around the back parking lot to get used to the operation of that bus.
Sure.
But it would be, but yes, you are. As far as I'm concerned, I think the other two, I can't speak for them, but since it's going to be there, it doesn't hurt to have it drove every once in a while. And but it's a 9-passenger. So
What's required as far as license?
I think you have to have a 12 to 16 passenger bus, I believe. You have to have special license. Other than this, it's not any different than driving a van to this point. Other than this here, it's got a little more room spread out in it. And they can actually haul a few things in it where they couldn't before. Used to, a few years ago, Pickens County was able to furnish 4-H a vehicle, and that vehicle was turned back in a few years ago. So she is without a vehicle to run errands between schools and this, that, and the other without having to use her own personal vehicle. This van here is going, or this bus can be a little more complicated to do that, but at least on trips and all, she would have the ability to utilize that feature. Anything you'd like to say towards that?
I just, appreciate being able to use it. So right now we're working on our forestry judging team, and we're trying to plan a visit to visit the Brazelton Arboretum so that they can, study the trees a little better before the competition. So that would be useful. I also have an announcement about an upcoming program. Is that okay to do now?
Yes.
Okay. So on August 29th, it's a Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. at the Extension office. We're hosting 2 UGA professors. They're coming to talk about radon in the air and radon in well water. So if you have anyone who's interested in coming to that,
Mary, can you get that on Pickens County website, get that thing notified out? Get the details on that one. Any further information?
that's it.
All right, anybody else got any questions? Miss Becky, you were Jerry?
I'm good.
All righty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have a good weekend. Thank you for coming.